Hi everybody, this is Slava Kurilyak. I want to thank you for joining this live stream. I am super excited to discuss how artificial intelligence technologies are transforming the mining sector. Before I get started, I want to quickly introduce myself and so you can better understand where I'm coming from. I am the founder CEO at Produvia, where we help companies around the world to develop artificial intelligence technologies. Now, most businesses struggle with innovation. And at Produvia, we help companies to innovate faster by creating custom software solutions using AI technologies. And the goal for companies is to crush their competitions. So if you are joining this live stream and you work in the mining sector or you are interested to use AI technologies, then you have come to the right place. I am using this live stream to answer questions. So if you're joining this live stream, feel free to say hi, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, and I am more than happy to address your specific question. In the meanwhile, what I will do is focus on some of the interesting questions that I find in the community. And I believe these questions are able to give you a glimpse of how AI technologies, how machine learning is being used in the mining sector. The first question that I see on Quora by Ankit is, what will you advise to somebody joining a well-paid job in the mining sector who wants to start a tech startup someday? Ankit asks, this is an excellent question because it asks the question of, imagine you are aiming to enter into the mining industry, but you want to keep your goals and aspirations in technology. What do you do? Now, I will speak from the perspective of using AI technology. And the first thing you would do, Ankit, is you would look for something called a data pool. Data pool allows you to see where data is being collected, where the data is being stored in the mining sector. So if you're entering the sector, figure out where that data lies. The second thing you would do is you would create an idea journal. Idea journals are aiming to capture your thoughts, your aspirations, your goals, your problems that you're noticing, your solutions, your opportunities. These are some of the elements that you can capture in the written form, which allows you to later reflect back on what's useful and what's not. Capturing these ideas in an idea journal is an excellent way that you are now able to sort of bridge the gap between the mining sector and technology. And the last piece of advice, Ankit, is you want to ask people if they are willing to pay for your idea. And this is the business entrepreneurial mind kicking in. You want to be paid for your time. And so if you're noticing that data is collected, for example, in the prospecting at a mine site, perhaps this is an opportunity for you to ask other companies if they're willing to pay for that prospecting data and for your solution. The next question from the community is in the mining industry. This is a question by Keshav on Quora. What I'll do, Keshav, is I'll share with you my screen, and hopefully you have a chance to better see the blog post that I wrote on this topic. I think this is an excellent way for you to learn more about the application of AI technology and its use case in the mining sector. Let's do a screen share, and you will see a blog post called Mining and AI Technologies. This is an excellent blog post for you to go to, Keshav, that allows you to better understand some of the higher level use cases of AI technology in the mining sector. But I want to bring your attention to the fact that AI actually is really solving a problem. If you have enough data, this is the prerequisite for solving that problem. And AI is a technology, it's a tool, but it's really solving different types of mining problems. So what are these problems, right? If we're talking about the mining prospecting, we're looking at the question of where should we explore next? Where should we dig next? If we're looking at discovery, perhaps that's a question of, what is the most optimal way to discover a specific mining ore? If we're developing that mine, if we're producing it, or if we are reclaiming the mine, meaning we are ensuring that the mine is now able to last beyond our mining activities. So the AI questions really are aiming to solve different types of industry problems. So let's, for example, consider the idea of prospecting. If we're looking at the question of where are we exploring, then there are ways that we can use AI, for example, deep learning technologies, to predict where that mineral ore is, right? If we can predict where the ore is, now we increase our probability of finding that ore, and we increase our probability of generating massive income for the mining company that we work with. And this is an excellent use case for using deep learning specifically. Here, all we need is to find satellite data for the location that we have in mind, and we want to use deep learning technologies like neural networks to analyze the satellite data combined with known locations of ores that we find from previous explorations. And now we can do something called predicting mineral prospectivity. Again, this is one specific example that we're aiming to solve for the prospecting space. I'll give you two more. Hopefully that gives you insights to what's possible using AI technology. And I want to make sure that anyone who joins this live stream, this is an interactive live stream. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Where was I? Perfect. So the discovery aspect of mining is actually the second most, I would say, applicable use case for AI technology. And now we're asking the question, what's in the ground? This is a question that is very, very common. And now we're able to use AI technologies to figure out what is the most efficient way to extract that ore, that mineral. And one example of how you would use AI is to do something called subsurface condition classification. This is a method whereby we're trying to figure out what is happening underneath the earth, what is happening subsurface, and we're looking for specific, I would say, signature or data points that allow us to find, where that specific surface lies, where that mineral lies, where that mineral is located. And here we're looking for different types of signals, whether we're looking at folds from different geographical elements of the sort of area we have in mind, or we're looking at acoustic signals, meaning auditory signals from the machinery we're using to find the ore. And this is a second example. Hopefully, this gives you a glimpse of how you would use AI to basically answer the question, what's in the ground? The third example, again, I'm going over it quickly here, but feel free to actually look over this blog post. What I'll do now is I'll share this blog post in the comments, and you will see on your own time how you would leverage these different technologies to solve AI problems within the mining sector. So the third example is, how can you build the mine, right? This is a question of development or construction within the mining space. And here we're aiming to use AI technologies to predict phasing of the construction, to better understand how we need to progress in the mining operation. Here we can use different techniques where we're leveraging, for example, time series data to figure out is the best time to move on to the next stage of the construction, next stage of development. Here we can use construction phase prediction models where we're able to predict in specific time what should be sort of the next phase of the construction process. We can use different types of sort of data points to accomplish this, anything from what we're observing on the mining operation, sort of from the operator's perspective, or we're looking at holistically from a higher level satellite imagery data. This is another great example of how we would use data to figure out what to do next. And lastly is, we can look at previous construction designs to figure out, what is the optimal time to move forward in the construction phase. Again, this is a blog post that I wrote that I think will give you lots of insights, lots of examples, lots of ideas on how you would use AI technology in the mining sector. So let's back into sort of where we are today. Mining sector is a very large sector to focus on, and really we're aiming to solve a specific question here. So let's jump back into some of the other community questions I noticed. Next question comes from Victor. What are the latest technological changes happening in the mining industry? Victor, This is a question where we're aiming to see, what are some of the trends and how are those trends being solved using technology? Well, the mining sector is really aiming to solve different types of problems. So I would say the different trends that I notice are related to using specific technologies to achieve a specific goal. So one example is using computer vision to determine where to dig, right? Computer vision models, for those who aren't familiar, are models that are able to deal with imagery and video data very effectively. So the question then arises, if we're able to use computers to understand images and video, then what can we accomplish? And if we can perhaps figure out where to dig, perhaps we can figure out what is the ore that we are digging, back down to sort of the more finer details, what percentage of purity is that ore or impurity, how valuable is that ore on the market, et cetera, et cetera. So these are different sort of ways that we can use AI, especially as we're dealing with visual and video data. So the other way we can use computer vision technologies is to detect different risks at a mine site, right? Mining operations are very risky. They're very dangerous, and they require advanced technologies so that companies can better dedicate their resources to ensure that the mine operation is done as safely as possible. And so one way to reduce risk is to detect what's happening in real time on the mining operation. Consider the idea that, if you have a worker and they're doing their job, well, there is a certain level of risk. If they're working underground, there's a risk of collapse. If they're working above ground, there's a risk of being crushed or sort of unable to see what's happening around them. And now you can use cameras. Now you can use different sensing technologies to give insight and figure out where the risks are, and then figure out how to react proactively. So, imagine a scenario where a worker is on the mining site and they're walking around and they have a wearable, and on this wearable, they are able to detect, what are the risks around them. This wearable is able to proactively give them indication that, hey, you need to be more cautious, or hey, there is a chance of a collision here. Please avoid this collision. You can have a system that's powered by AI technology that's feeding data onto the workers' sort of wearables, and these wearables can make the workplace much more safer. The other use case that I see, some of the technological changes that I notice, is being able to use natural language processing technologies to digitize the mining records, right? Mining records are one of the major pain points for many companies, especially those who are using paper to store all records of mining operation, mining discovery, etc. So if a company is now going digital, right? If a company is going through a digital transformation, for the first time now they're able to digitize the data that they're storing on the site itself. And the question then arises, okay, now we have a digital layer, if you were a digital warehouse, and this is great, but what do we do now? What are the insights we can learn from? How can we use that data to create a better mining operation? And this is where AI technology comes in, right? Once we have data, now we're able to answer questions like, what are missing opportunities for mining exploration based on the data we already have? Where should we explore next? What are the inspection reports telling us that we have not addressed so far? These are some of the questions that can be answered using NLP or natural language processing models. One way to accomplish this is to develop a model that is able to do something called text classification. Here, we're able to, for example, analyze the different inspection reports of, for example, haul trucks on a mine site, and we're able to extract, what does this sentence mean? And more so, we can then use other models such as named entity recognition, NER for short, now to be able to extract, what is the location of that haul truck, what is the model number, what was the cost of the repair, what were the main issues that the inspector or supervisor was able to detect. So these are some of the questions that mine operators are able to ask if they're having access to data, and more so if they're developing AI technologies to make insights from that data. That brings me to the next realization. AI technology is very powerful, and it's only powerful when it's solving a specific problem. So the question then arises, what are you aiming to solve, right? Are you aiming to generate revenue for the mining operation? Are you aiming to reduce cost? Are you aiming to save time? These are sort of goal-oriented approaches to using AI technologies that I'm a big fan of. I think everyone should start with the end in mind, right? Define your vision, define your goal, define your ideal value that you wish to achieve, and then work backwards. Then figure out, okay, what might I need? What technology might I need? Whom do I need to partner with? Who do I need to be in communication with? And this is where you now have an opportunity to reach out and engage a conversation with me. I am, as I mentioned to you before, leading an artificial intelligence agency where I specialize in helping companies around the world to develop custom artificial intelligence solutions so that they can crush their competition, right? Ultimately, you as a mining sort of employee or decision maker, you want to be better than your competition. You want to scale, and you want to generate all the profits, all the revenue. And the best way to do that today is to use artificial intelligence technologies by far. If you have data, if you have desire, if you have capital, this is the best opportunity you have to really be ahead of your competition, to scale faster, to do more. And the next question I want to address in the community is, Victor also asks, how is technology going to turn around the mining industry? Yes, the technology is a neutralized tool, right? So technology is used to the benefit of the mining industry, and so the real question then becomes, what are we lacking today? What is the mining industry missing? And then the question then becomes, what can technology and AI technology fill in the gap? Technology today is something that can be applied. And the major problems of the mining industry that I see are safety, right? The question then is, can technology create more safer mines? And the answer is absolutely. The other issues that I see with the mining sector is that it's very inefficient. There are many elements and many tasks of the mining operation which can, should, and must be automated. And so AI technology is the perfect fit for that, not just for sort of the simpler tasks where AI is able to repeat sort of the tedious and boring tasks, but also AI is able to repeat tasks that are able to save lives potentially. And the other element that I see sort of that is within the mining sector is, with efficiency, you also have the issues of effectiveness, right? Just because we're solving a specific problem a certain way does not mean that we should continue to do so. Maybe there's a better way, and the better way here is to use different technologies, different methods to accomplish the task. So a couple of examples that I see of how technology will turn the mining sector around is technology will make the and more sustainable. These are just three different ways that AI can work quite nicely, and it really depends on, as a mining organization, what are you aiming to achieve. AI technology at its core is able to do two major functions within any industry, mining or others. At its best, it's able to automate a lot of the things that we do today. And I think that's a powerful use case for why companies would go down this path, because if you're now able to create a solution that's cheaper than if you were to hire a person, now you have a strong business use case for automation. And the second major area or use case for AI technology is augmentation. And I want to speak more to augmentation. I've mentioned to you how AI can be used to make something fully automated, but AI can also be used to make a process or to complete a task semi-automated, or being able to augment the person through the process. So what is augmentation? Augmentation is where we're able to help an individual do a task better, right? We're not aiming to replace the task with a computer system. We're able to bring some sort of insight, some sort of information, some sort of a prediction to the individual so they can do their job better. And augmentation is a very strong use case for AI because it allows companies to incrementally adopt AI technologies over time. AI is able to now provide insight to a worker, which means companies are able to phase the development of AI technologies over time, right? Sometimes going down the path of full automation is not the best approach for companies, especially those who are more conservative, especially those who are thinking, how can they test the waters with AI technologies. And augmentation is the perfect way to prototype, to create MVP or minimal viable products for the mining sector. If you are a employee, if you are a decision maker, if you are an executive in the mining sector, then augmentation is often the right choice for you. There, you're aiming to give some information to the worker and help them to be more efficient. So what can you do, right? So imagine you have a worker who has an eyeglass, or they have a wearable watch, and this information is, this is sort of the gadget, and this is sort of step one. Step two is now giving them insight, giving them information, giving them some sort of data point that allows them to do their job faster, better, cheaper. And after you achieve sort of both the visual layer, and now you have the data presentation layer, now you have a system that's able to feed data to the person, and the person is now able to give feedback back into the AI system. And this is how you improve. This is how you go from a system that you train once to a system that is able to continuously learn over time, right? If an AI system is now receiving data from the mining workers, from the mining team members, now that system is getting smarter and smarter over time. So this is a great way to go about it. Like I've mentioned to those who are joining this live stream, this is an interactive live stream. I want to encourage everyone who joins to leave a comment, leave a question, and I am more than happy to answer it in this live stream. The next question that I see comes from Anonymous. What are the latest technological tendencies taking place in the ore mining industry? Anonymous, this is a similar question to the previous one, but I do want to bring attention to the fact that, if we're talking about ore discovery, we're really talking about this idea of ore being a natural rock or a sediment that contains one or more valuable minerals. And this material typically can be mined, treated, or sold at a profit, right? Ore is typically extracted from earth through the mining and treated or refined, often using smelting techniques. And the idea is to extract this valuable metal or mineral so that it's now able to bring value for the mining operation. And so the ore is really a material that we're aiming to extract. It's a very specific type of material, a very specific type of sediments, rather. And the technologies that we can use today are really to more efficient, right? If we're able to extract that ore, we're now asking questions, how do you improve the output of the ore processing facility, right? How much revenue can we generate if we improve the output by 10%, if we improve the mining operational efficiency by 10%, right? Some companies who are already spending billions of dollars per year, if they're able to see a 10% increase, that's able to generate, hundreds of millions of dollars of profit every single year. And so this is how AI technologies come in. If we're able to analyze data through the mining operational process, now we're able to improve the output of these ore treatment plants. So this is just one example of some of the ways that ore mining industry is benefiting. If we're leveraging, for example, computer vision models to understand what is happening to the sediment as it moves through the processing facility, now we can improve the output of the processing unit. The next question that I see is, what is increasing innovation in technology and improving the quality of the mining industry? Helen on Quora asks. Yes, Helen, this is really a two-part question. What is technology increasing in the mining sector? The technology that I see that has more and more adoption is autonomous vehicles. Right? Autonomous vehicles are an excellent way that AI technology is bringing massive value to companies, because it allows companies to go full autonomous and become fully autonomous in its operation. Autonomous vehicles are vehicles that are able to drive by themselves. They're able to not only operate by themselves, they're able to avoid obstacles. They're able to know sort of where other obstacles or vehicles are at any given time. And they're able to do this while, most importantly, operating 24/7, right? Imagine a mine site that has 24/7 operation. And this is an efficient mindset. The worker is no longer needed to take 8-hour shifts just to drive a vehicle. Now you have a vehicle that drives itself. How much value does that bring to a mining company, right? We're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars every year that is being extracted from any specific mine site. So if you're able to automate fully the mine fleet operation, if you're able to make these vehicles drive by themselves, then you're bringing massive value. You're saving lots of time. You're reshifting the workers to do other tasks that bring other value to the company. Autonomous vehicles, I think, is one of the best ways that companies are leveraging AI technology today. The second part of your question is, what technology is improving the quality of the mining industry? And here, the technology is robots or robotics. Robots are the next best way that you're able to use AI technology, because now the quality or the safety is improving, because you have a robot or a robotic machine that's able to do what a person would do using a shovel or using other types of tools to extract minerals. If you have a robotic machine that's able to dig more efficiently, now you're utilizing the best possible tools, and those tools are mechanical components. Those tools are autonomous robots that are able to detect in real time how the ore is going and how the ore is being extracted. So the robots and autonomous vehicles are two powerful use cases of using AI technology, and I encourage all companies around the world who are in the mining sector to use these new forms of AI technology. The next question that I see is mining industry not healthy? This is a question that's quite subjective, Anonymous. Thanks for asking. This is a question that is really aiming to address questions that have been posed by hundreds of thousands of years as we've been mining. And these questions are less technology related, they're more human related, but I do want to bring them to your attention. And the three areas that I see the mining operation can improve and technology will play into that. The first is water pollution. The second is air pollution, and the third is dangerous. Right, drinking water at mines often is unusable. We're often dealing with natural ores that emit sometimes very toxic byproducts and waste products. And so treating that water is of the uttermost priority at many mine sites. They create what's basically a standing pool of water through different types of embankment systems and dams. These systems are able to capture runoff water. They're able to capture water that would hit at a specific mindset and flow downstream. And at this sort of downstream location, you now have an opportunity to treat the water. And in order to reduce water pollution, oftentimes mine sites leverage the latest filtering system, the latest technologies to ensure that the water is at its best, to ensure that the water is filtered to a specific standard. Now, what is that standard? Today, it's drinking standards, right? You want to filter the water to the level where you have somebody to walk by, they're able to take us water and drink it. And in that sort of filtration facility, if you're not able to achieve drinking water standards, now you're aiming to achieve the next best sort of level of filtration, which is perhaps being able to discharge it into the ocean or nearby stream. And here you can use AI technologies to help you, right? If you have a filtration system that is looking for impurities, now imagine being able to use cameras, being able to detect impurities in real time, so you can ensure that the sort of the filtration is working as expected, or at least to a specific level of accuracy, right? Imagine if you're not using AI, you're able to achieve 90% filtration. If you're using AI, you're able to achieve 99% filtration. How much value would that bring to you and your company, right? The next sort of big issue that I see is water pollution, air pollution. Water pollution was the first, air pollution is the second. If we're at a mindset, we're dealing with lots of different issues, everything from dust to blast fumes, equipment NOx, CO2 emissions. These are just a few examples of different types of pollution that occurs on a mine site. And if you have workers on that mine site, now you're dealing with safety, right? And the question is, how can you ensure that your workers come back tomorrow and they're able to do their job without taking sick leave, without sort of going away for a period of time, and just being able to recover. So pollution is a big issue. Air pollution is the second issue that I see. And being able to address air pollution can also be done using technology, right? If we have sensors that are able to detect air pollution better, now we're able to ensure that the workers are taking the necessary precautions, the necessary safety precautions, and taking time off where it's needed. AI technology is a tool that will allow companies to analyze that data and detect when is the next sort of best opportunity to take workers off-site to give them a break. The third area that I see within the mining sector is dangerous situations or dangerous scenarios. Mining companies often use sensors to monitor different types of conditions, right? Temperature, vibration, but they can also be, these sensors can also be used to warn drivers and dispatchers about potentially dangerous situations. Dangerous scenarios are very common, right? If we have massive haul trucks next to people, and we're talking about a haul truck, a U truck, that oftentimes is 100 times or 1,000 times bigger than a person. You have a very dangerous scenario. If a haul truck does not see a person or a group of people, then the goal of a mining company is to prevent the scenarios where you have these dangerous hotspots, if you were. And AI technology can also be used to avoid these dangerous scenarios by proactively detecting these risks, right? So being able to give insight to the mining operators, to the employers when the risk is occurring in real time, but also predicting what's about to occur, right? Perhaps there's an air pollution warning that is about to hit. Maybe now is the best time to take a worker off-site because it takes them 30 minutes to leave the site. So if you have a proactive measure, you're now able to ensure safety of the workers. So this is the third area that I see that I think is quite useful. Again, I remind everyone who joins this live stream, this is an interactive live stream. I am to answer your questions. So if you have a question about AI technology, feel free to leave a comment and I am more than happy to address it. In the meanwhile, we'll continue answering some of the community questions that I see that I think are quite useful for everyone to at least better understand. How do I apply data science to the energy mining industry? Henry on Quora asks. The mining industry is able to capture a value for the mining sector, but data science is not something that many people are familiar with. And I want to bring distinction here between AI and data science. Data science is a broad field. It usually includes processes that which are capturing the data, which are analyzing and deriving insights from that data. And that's slightly different from AI, and that AI is a field that aims to leverage data and make a specific type of classification or prediction. So one is able to just analyze data, and that's data science. One is able to analyze data to form a meaningful representation from that data. And so how do you apply data science to the energy mining sector? Well, data science will shift attention from revenue to data, right? Today, mining companies are all about how can we increase revenue, how can we decrease costs, and data science takes a different role. Data science says it's more important to focus on the data, because in the analysis of the data, we can then create more company revenue. So now companies are prioritizing their projects, they're shifting capital, and they're building data science teams. Companies today are building the data infrastructure so that the data is being captured, right? That's step one. And step two, the data is now being analyzed, right? Data science teams are very good at figuring out, what's useful, what's not, right? This is where domain experts can help, but data scientists often use data itself to figure out what's useful, right? Oftentimes you can plot data. This is one of the most common ways that data scientists understand data. By visualization, you can better understand what's happening on the mine site without talking to an expert, without talking to a mining operator, a mining employee. Data is the truth, if you were. And that's one way to think of it. Sometimes that data is flawed, and that's okay. You do need a quality control process to ensure the data you are collecting makes sense. Data experts often are really good at collecting data, and sometimes you need domain experts to figure out if that data makes sense. Having said that, data science is shifting the focus to data and data collection, data analysis. In the short term, as soon as a company has the data infrastructure, as soon as a company has is able to capture data from a mining operation, now the data science team is driving massive value for the company, right? Imagine a data science team that is able to improve revenue by 10, 20% to the company, right? How much value does that bring? Well, a data science team is able to use data to give those insights. It's very, very powerful to have data scientists who analyze your data. Mind you, it is slightly different from AI, and the data itself will transform mining companies today. And the data is sort of the first step in the AI revolution, in the AI operation. And AI technology will require data, it will require lots of data, and as soon as a company has data, now is the time to use AI technology. So if you're working in the mining sector, if you are a decision maker or you are an executive and you want to use AI technology, the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you have data? If the answer is yes, then this is the perfect opportunity to start using AI technology. There are companies around the world who are already using AI technologies. I will not name names, but you know who the big players are. You can assume they are using AI, they're using machine learning, they're using deep learning, they're using computer vision and natural language processing, because they see the value in experimentation, they see the value in competitiveness, and this is how they stay ahead. So if you are a company and you are aiming to extract minerals from nature, this is the opportunity for you to use AI technology. And the next question that I will address is, what are the main challenges by the mining at the moment? Henry, this is a question that's really related to what are some of the current challenges. And today we are impacted by COVID-19. COVID-19, I see, is bringing lots of uncertainty in the mining sector. And today, a lot of companies are confused as to what is the best way to move forward, right? What is the response to COVID-19? What is our COVID-19 response strategy? And sort of short of diving deeper into COVID-19, I want to address that uncertainty due to COVID-19 is one of the biggest issues that companies face today, right? Revenue often is affected because of COVID-19. safety is affected, employee productivity is affected. All these aspects are the result. But the other two main challenges that I see is managing risk and modernizing technologies. Modernizing risk, or rather managing risk, is one of the ways that companies are trying to figure out how they need to move forward, right? So there are some operations on a mine site that are more risky than others, and some types of initiatives are less risky. So the question is, how do you better manage risk? And again, these are just some challenges, and there are many ways to solve these challenges. And but I do want to focus on sort of just the problems that I see. The third problem that I see is the idea of modernizing technologies, or often what's called a transformation of digital technologies, digital transformation. Modernizing technologies is a challenge because a lot of companies, a lot of mine sites are still operating very traditionally. They're still collecting data on a piece of paper. They're still recording that data and storing it in file folders, in desk drawers, in offices around the world. And this is a major risk for companies. So, short of a single fire that can wipe out records, short of a single sort of unexpected scenario that can completely wipe the archival of a mine operation, this also poses a challenge for using AI technology, right? I've mentioned to you before, AI requires data. The second requirement is capital. So if you are storing data, right, that data must be digital, right? This is the time, this is the moment for you to digitize and transform your company to be more data-driven. And once you have a data collection, once you have a data warehouse, once you have a data lake, data store, whatever you call it, now you can use AI technology. Now you can ask yourself, what insights can you derive from that data? Perhaps this is an opportunity for you to work with a data scientist or a data science team. If you're asking yourself, how can you use this data to better understand the mining operation today? How can you use this data to predict the mining operation tomorrow? Now there's the opportunity for you to use AI technologies. And this is where working with a partner, working with somebody who knows AI technologies, who's dealt with AI technologies for a long time, this is the perfect chance for you to do so. And you are more than happy to, I am more than happy for you to reach out and establish a connection with me. I have been in the AI space for the last 7 years, and I am more than happy to chat with you about how you would go about using AI technology for the mining sector. And the last question that I see from the community is, how will automation affect the mining industry? Matt on Quora asks. Yes, automation will make the mining industry more sustainable. I think this is one of the best use cases for automation. We've talked about how we can generate revenue, reduce costs, and save time. But I think becoming more sustainable is one of the key goals of any mining operation, because now if you can be more sustainable, you can generate more revenue. If you can be more sustainable, you can meet different types of environmental standards that are being imposed every single day around the world, right? The environmental movement is very strong today, and in order to respond to it in the most efficient way, the most effective way, you need to use an effective, sustainable mining operation, mining strategy. And there's a few ways that you can do so, right? So there's a few solutions, if you were, that allows you to address sustainability, better mining techniques. And I'll share with you 5 different ideas that I think you will find useful. So how can AI or AI automation make mining operation more sustainable? Well, number 1 is to develop a lower impact mining technique. Number 2 is to reuse mine waste, have a eco-friendly equipment. Number 4 is to rehabilitate mine site, and number 5 is to shut down illegal mining activity. So all of these ways that can be, so all of these are some of the solutions that any company can explore. And automation powered by AI technology is one way to do so. It does not have to be necessarily driven by AI technology. It can be purely driven by data. But if you are using data alone, and now you have to take the risk that that data is evolving over time, and so you have to ask yourself, how reliable is that data? Do you trust that data? Do you trust any specific data point in time? And if the answer is no, then this is the opportunity to use AI technology. With AI, you're able to answer the question is, what confidence do I give this data, right? Are we talking about 90th percentile? Are we talking about 99th percentile? Is this data 99% accurate? Do we have a confidence level of 99%? And if we are able to make mining operation more sustainable, then this is one way that we can affect the mining industry. Mind you, there are many ways to do so. And I do want to conclude with the reminder that if you are working in the mining industry, if you are a decision maker, if you are an executive, I am more than happy to chat with you about how you would use AI technology to solve your specific business problems. There are many ways that AI technology can be used in the mining sector. Hopefully I've given you a few insights to how you go about it. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me, and feel free to leave a chat on the channel. I'm more than happy to review and answer your question directly in the chat, or feel free to reach out to me directly. So the next step is actually to do that. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to schedule a phone call with you, because I believe AI technology is in the perfect opportunity to solve mining problems. And if you are interested to chat with me, then let's schedule a brief discovery call. I remind you that also, if you find this valuable, I want you to subscribe to my channel. And by doing so, you're able to then see my upcoming live streams. If you're a subscriber, you're able to be notified when I go live next, what types of questions are able to answer, and you're able to also ask the next question. And so I highly, highly encourage you to subscribe, and that way you're able to stay up to date on the latest developments of AI technology. AI technologies are moving very fast. They're impacting every industry as we know it. This is the time for you to apply them. There is no time to waste. This is the time for you to beat your competition. This is the time to crush your competition. And one of the best ways to do that is to use AI technology. I want to thank you for your time. It's been great having a conversation with you. I look forward to seeing you next time.